Good morning. Today's message is called Why I Pray for Ukraine, and You Should Too. On February 20th, 2022, 2 days before the Russian invasion of Ukraine began, God spoke to me and told me to begin praying for Ukraine in earnest. I obeyed, and I started praying often. I prayed desperate prayers at length. The media and military minds predicted Ukraine would fall within a few days to a few weeks. But I knew better, because God has continually given me wild, unbelievable things to pray regarding this war, things I would not have believed had God not given them to me to pray. The biggest one, I prayed the Russian supplies would fail, their logistics would break down, and their military organization would falter. Very shortly after that, the world watched Russia, the supposed second best military in the world, get stalled out in a 40-mile long convoy that was just stuck. It was incredible. I witnessed video of hundreds, thousands of armored vehicles get destroyed by a supposed weaker army. Praise the Lord for his great show of power. Russia is our enemy. Since the end of World War II, Russia has put itself in a position of opposition to the West. They have murdered our people, meddled in our affairs, bribed our corrupt politicians, and so much more evil things. You cannot believe the lies you hear regarding this evil dragon of a country. Nothing good comes from there. They have destroyed their light. Even their church is dead. We cannot believe politicians on media because they are bought and paid for by the Russians. We have to look at their actions. The Russians are evil to the core. They rape boys, girls, men, and women. They even rape their fellow soldiers as punishment. There is video evidence, if you wish to see it. You probably don't. The Ukrainian drones have witnessed this countless times. The Russians torture, starve, and abuse prisoners. They even use them as human shields to try to prevent the Ukrainians from firing on them. The Russians use barrier troops to execute their own soldiers for retreating. They send in their military in human waves, which are completely destroyed most of the time. You can hardly apply the term human to the Russian military. They do not value human life at all. The Ukrainians are our allies, but the West has not held up their side of the deal. That deal being, Ukrainians defeat Russia, and in return we supply their needs. People complain that we give money to Russia. This is a naive complaint. The money stays in the West, in our country. It's military vehicles that get sent to the West, the vast majority of which were built to fight Russia in the first place, who have always been evil. The only reason we allied with them in World War II was because the Nazis betrayed them. They were allies before that. The Ukrainians are good, caring people, just like us in the West. They actually care when their men are hurt and killed. They, however, have no choice but to fight. Otherwise, the mass torture, rape, and execution of their people would be inevitable, just like Bucha and many other towns that came under Russian occupation. Just watch Russian media. They call for the Ukrainians to be exterminated loudly and often. They even call for our deaths by nuking and invading us. Make no mistake, they see us as an enemy. They would gladly rape, torture, and kill all of us in the West. We are naive to think peace is possible with a society so brainwashed. My last point is this. Russia assisted Hamas to attack Israel. They requested it. They gave money and equipment so this could happen, simply so that Western media and attention could shift away from Ukraine. The Israelites are the chosen people of our God, Yahweh. Fighting them is foolish and should be the clearest sign that the Russians serve Satan. They serve our enemies, both worldly and spiritual. Pray for Ukraine. Pray for Israel. Praise Jesus.